In one respect, I think I always imagined the sort of like any change coming from something romantic, like rioting, and in Bristol it happened in the 80s, and I always thought it was something of a romantic notion. But actually, when it happened this year, it was far from it. It was pretty sad and scary, really, and it wasn't. I saw it wasn't really a solution to changing anything. And I think a movement like this, when it is non-violent, it's people applying pressure in all the right places for all the right reasons. I think it's not a place to argue. It's a place. It's something I support, really, because I really want things to change, but I don't want to see it happen in a way which is sad, burning things down. I think this is a way to apply pressure. By anyone can get involved. It's not exclusive.
To me, the starting point in my head was that film Inside Job, because basically I don't understand how this stuff works. I don't understand how the city works, and then to have a film basically explain to you that there's a very good reason why you don't understand it. They've made it so you don't understand it, so they can carry on, and you feel that you're powerless. Banks basically took the money that was supposed to be safe, that was supposed to keep us safe, and robbed it, and then said, it was an act of God. It wasn't us. It was just, that was the way it was. And everybody on the street knows that's not the case. It's not an act of God. It was deliberate. There's people that are responsible, and they're not being held to account. Because it's in the banking system, because it's in this great cathedral of glass and steel, we're not allowed to say anything about it. The system is as it is, and so every Western politician is there saying, we've got to mop up. You've got to dig deep. You've got to dig deep because you've got to mop up. And even like normal middle class people are going, well, hang on, how does this work? I feel sad that, like, with this thing, the way the media will put it across is like, the Occupy movement, troublemaking, blah blah blah. And I think it's interesting, like, that there is so much sympathy for it, and it's obvious why. But people can't put it together in their heads, you know what I mean? Because, like, it's the banking system. It's like a law of God. It's like beyond us. We're not allowed to think about it. I swear to God that most politicians don't understand the banking system at all anyway. They're told they've got to mop up. They just mop up.
It's organised crime on a global scale, and it's in any other situation it would not be protected by the law. But in this case, the law of the politics and banking are the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most politicians come from an economic background, so the whole thing is so interlinked and intertwined. If you look at America at the moment, they can't even sort out this issue of resolving how to sort of like lessen their debt, because they're trying. Some parts of the American sort of like Congress are trying to back a few people to protect the wealth of a very few, and it's just. I mean, that on any level is ridiculous and sad, and the fact that the rest of the world is being held to ransom on that level is ridiculous. It's crazy.
You don't need to be an anarchist. You don't need to be someone who smashes the state to have sympathy with that viewpoint. I think that's what I find. If I was like the Prime Minister of this country right now, I would be. Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go to the right school, but anyway. I would be wondering, how am I going to keep this anger at bay? Because this anger is going to get worse. How am I going to keep in power? And I swear, they're siding with the wrong people. You cannot keep the system going in this motion. It won't work.
It's a very crazy and confusing thing, because, like you said, there's no real size to this. It's about all of us saying, what the hell is going on? What has happened to a system? A democratic capitalist system is something I think we've all come to realise is one that works, but it hasn't been used properly, it hasn't been regulated, and people will say, well, that's human nature. But it's not really. It's not just about humans being greedy. It's about the system and the law not protecting the right people and not siding with the right people. And it's a time when, as you're pointing out, right now, rather than marginalising sort of activists and citizens of the country, you should actually listen and sort of stand by them and say, okay, what can we do to protect this country and the people in it, as opposed to sort of like trying to protect a few. The banks only work if we bank with them. It only works if we don't operate within the system, within the law. And I think this is a law-abiding protest. It's a protest of pressure. It's actually about keeping a pressure on a situation which won't get better if we all stand back. And it blows up. There's a riot for sort of like 3 months. A lot of other people lose their businesses. Kids end up in jail. That's no solution to anything.
Totally right.
Do you know what I mean? Right now, this is a better solution.
And how else would you do it? You know what I mean? How else would you? How else now, right now, in 2011, would you register your protest? What, would you go and talk to your MP?
I think all of us have, you know, a sort of responsibility to look at how it all works, you know, as much as we can find out, and how difficult as difficult it is, as we were talking about, to sift through it and work out what you can do as an individual. And any solution that can sort of help, you know, create a wave of change is going to be one to do. And I think everyone right now is looking at different options, and sometimes it's, you know, it has to hurt you in the pocket to get people to do things. Like, all of us are that way. We're all self-involved with our lives, our families and stuff, and our friends and our situations, and it takes a bit of a crisis to get people to move. And we've had a big crisis, a series of crises really, and now people are thinking about how to make a change, where to spend their money, where to save their money. And this whole idea of keeping the consumer bubble going by having to spend money at Christmas is crazy. Like, people don't need to spend their money. I know the economy is in trouble, but it's not, the solution isn't just to keep spending money. It's not about creating a bigger debt. It's a crazy way of looking at it.
Perpetuating the motion in the same direction, which is just, it's going to end, just going to make it worse. But what with, like what you're saying with banks, it's like, to me, banks can't have it both ways. They can't have the luxury of being protected as part of our country's infrastructure, and then take the capital of that and do what the fuck they like with it. You can't do that, right? You cannot have it both ways. You cannot have that luxury. You can't say, oh, you need free capital. And I think if like governments, if the British government, for example, is not prepared to really like make amends to the British people for this by penalising the banks the way they should, then I think we should do it ourselves.
I think everyone in the Occupy movement knows exactly what to do, and what they're doing is brilliant. I think it's up to us to sort of stand back and applaud them and raise a glass to them for what they're doing anyway, you know, because I think they're leading the way. And you know, whatever, you know, we can do as other citizens or musicians or whatever, is just kind of like help support it. And you know, my hand is raised to them, really, to be honest.
Christmas message to Occupy would be that, I mean, to be honest, there's two things. The first thing is, like, to me, it's really inspiring to actually see when it kicked off in New York, how it kicked off, how it happened really naturally, how it happened non-aggressively, cleverly. You know, I've always been sympathetic with you know, that passive protest, peaceful protest thing is great. The police tried to move them on, they came back, moved them on, they came back, it got bigger, 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 it got bigger. It's like, why do you think that is? It's because it means something. It's because this generation actually has to do this. We have no choice, because there's no, you know, and I'm just, yeah, absolutely, like you're saying, we're just really proud that our fellow human beings have got their shit together.
Yeah,
it's great.
Absolutely, man. And it's like one of those to everyone in the Occupy movement.
Absolutely.
Well, that's actually a wanker sign.
No, yeah. So, like that. This is the Queen.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.